Hey, crypto heads! It's the Goose with the Cryptic Paranormal Show. Super excited to be here tonight, guys. We got a great guest. Hi, Heather. How you doing down there?
Hi.
I just barely made it on time, but we're actually good. This is amazing.
Yeah.
So, first off, before I go around and see how everybody's doing, everybody say happy birthday to D Nice over there. Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Oh my
Thank
goodness.
you.
I won't say
I
it.
couldn't think of a better way to spend my birthday, Heather. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
it just like it happened out that way. She's like, Heather Taddy on my birthday.
Right?
That is awesome.
Actually, there was a couple of F words in there. I was like, fucking Heather Taddy on my birthday.
Hey, this is our second time hanging out.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm so
that's
excited.
awesome.
It was the
So
perfect
John
day for
Ward
you to
says,
join us.
John Ward says happy birthday.
Thank you.
So happy birthday. So how's everybody doing? Denise, how are you doing today? Obviously,
Oh,
you're
good.
probably
You know,
hopefully you better be doing good.
I worked. I made dinner. Played some Xbox with the kids, and now I'm doing the show.
Nice. Yeah. But you're doing something this weekend, hopefully. You're going axe throwing. I wanted
We're
to
going
go.
axe throwing.
That is amazing. I want to do that for my birthday.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
It's so much fun. Hopefully the Viking blood comes out in me and I'm like straight shooter, but
I told the
my
girls at
Irish
work,
will be in there.
I told the girls at work, I said, you have to come because I'm trying to judge my zombie apocalypse team, so I need to know where you all rank.
Yeah. Heisenberg, I dare ask, but how are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Doing good.
Yeah.
Not saying much. I don't want to jinx anything.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. True. So
Almost twisted my ankle today, but that's okay. I fell into one of the holes the dog dug in the backyard.
Oh no. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have any problems with that.
Do you have a chainsaw in the background? Is that a chainsaw that I see?
No, no, it's a weed whacker. It's a Black & Decker one, and then there's a Black & Decker leaf blower that has actually been recalled, but I've never sent it back.
Nice. I got a foosball table.
That's his weapon of choice.
You see, I'm ready for the zombie apocalypse.
That's right.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, who else is chiming in? Addie, we love you, Addie. What's up?
Oh, Addie. Hi.
Maybe.
John said you wouldn't get as sick as you do if you didn't. If you'd eat some more cold cuts.
That's bullshit. I think it's the other way around, John. I'd be worse.
I think
liver worst.
What you did there.
But as you guys can see, and as we've been trying to promote all week, we have Heather Taddy with us tonight. So Heather, I mean, it's a little cliche, but you got to start from the beginning, right?
Right. Yeah.
Why don't you give us a little bit about your origin story? How did you get into this weird stuff that we all love?
Well, honestly, as long as I can remember, I honestly think it started with like when I was in third grade. There were these like book fairs that would come through school. I think every school kind of had these you get these like little thin newspapers with all these like crazy books. And I was always ordering. I was always drawn to like the alien abduction books. And I think that's pretty much where it started. But I remember always being young and listening to Coast. I was obsessed with like looking at the stars, especially during meteor showers. Like I grew up in the woods in the middle of Pennsylvania, and there wasn't much to do. So that's one thing my friends and I always did, was we always were like looking at the stars and just having that discussion. Like, do you think there's aliens? Is there life on the planets? But I also remember it's obviously like a culmination of things, but I remember and I wish I still had the copy of this. It was an old issue of Fate magazine, and there was just this classic image of a flying saucer and a gray alien. And that like always stuck with me. And then from there, you know, obviously I got into reading about Ed and Lorraine Warren and their cases, and Amityville was a huge inspiration to just kind of read about that. And I remember I had like the VHS like double cassette of Amityville and Amityville 2. So I don't know, it just kind of all came together from that. And then there were some reportedly haunted places in the town I grew up. So I was always kind of the girl that was taking my friends on these like weekend excursions all throughout like junior high and high school, where I'd gather a group of people and we'd take a Ouija board and I'd steal my mom's video camera, and we'd go and break into these places and just try to like catch evidence, because I've always been the person, I've wanted to put myself in a situation to have experiences. So I would go out there looking for that. And I had like a little analog, like micro cassette recorder that I would
Nice.
try to get confused on and stuff. So it just kind of started as just a huge interest. And I had no idea I would still be talking about this today. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your parents are probably like, it's just a phase. She'll grow out of it.
Yeah, right.
Here you are.
Right.
I'm still saying that when I'm 37.
Yeah. To this day, my dad says, "Are you still playing with the blinky light in the dark?" I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, that's what I do."
Yeah. Yes.
I just talk to myself, and if the blinky light goes off, I've had a good night.
It's
My dad
basically a
calls
good
it the
description.
ghost thing. He says, "Are you doing that ghost thing?" Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing the ghost
Yeah.
thing.
He has actually gotten a little bit more interested in it as time has gone, but I don't know. We'll see. I still got to get him out there, see if he wants to do it with me. But be more than likely he would rather do something more like Bigfoot tracking or something like that, because he's an outdoorsy guy. So
Yeah.
that's cool with me too. I'm good with that.
Yeah, do that one.
Does Pennsylvania have? What does Pennsylvania have? Like we have Ohio Grassman, right? What is Pennsylvania's Bigfoot? Just
Keeping cow.
Bigfoot?
I don't know if it's like I don't know, actually. There are sightings here. I know that.
Yeah.
But I'm like not. I'm really not into Bigfoot. I'm not really. I know a lot about the crypto side of of the paranormal, but I've never been on a Bigfoot investigation. Well, maybe
Yeah.
one time. Well, there was one time. But yeah, I know that there are sightings here. There's definitely sightings. Maybe upstate. I don't even know.
Yeah.
See, I've decided now that if I totally deny that they exist, they can't get me.
I just figure they don't show up because they don't want to be around people. And
Well,
I'm
that
cool with
too.
that. I don't
That
want to be
too.
around people either.
Would you? I know. Would you be
I
one
get
of
it.
you around us?
So John had a question. He wanted to know if Heather was into the paranormal or cryptids or UFOs. Like what's your wheelhouse?
Well, I would consider all of that to be in the paranormal category, but I started my kind of introduction to all this is I started helping families that lived in haunted houses, really historical haunted houses, during a time when it was still kind of taboo to talk about the paranormal in a way, and a lot of people were really scared to share their experiences. So I really started working with clients and kind of introducing like the psychological aspect behind a haunting. That's kind of where I started. And of course, when I was in college, I found out about this paranormal club called the Penn State Paranormal Research Society. That was this club that was backed by Penn State University. And at the time they threw this huge paranormal conference. It was a paranormal academic conference called Unifcon. Wow. And it was a huge deal. It was at Penn State's main campus. And, the guy that started this club, Ryan Buell, ran this conference. And I was studying for a French test in college. And I saw an article about this club and about the conference. And I told myself when I transferred up to the main campus the following year, I was going to start going to the meetings. And I had no idea about a TV show, but A&E Network had been in the process of creating a docu-series where they followed this club around, helping families. So yeah, I had already been training and going to meetings, and I was like, I'll try out for this because number one, it's going to give me access to go to some really cool places.
Right.
And I kind of always knew I'd work in TV in some way or another because I was studying film in college at the time, and I grew up with a video camera like glued to my hand, just filming life. So, but that's how I started. And then after that, I got into UFOs, where I was actually going out into the field and working with researchers for a TV series called Alien Highway that was on the Travel Channel. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Are you currently are you still working on that, or are you working on anything else at the moment?
So Alien Highway did not get renewed for a second season, unfortunately. So we just have the one season. But right now I have been, I also guest star on episodes of a show called Mysteries Decoded, which is a really cool show. It's on the CW, and it kind of mixes, UFOs, cryptids, everything is paranormal, but it mixes it all together. And there's the main star of the show is a woman named Jennifer Marshall, and she's a private investigator in real life. And she's pretty skeptical about things, but the show is really cool because it's very like research based. It's very informational, and she's explored everything from Bigfoot, UFOs,
Oh wow.
different like famous, like she did the Conjuring House. So I did an episode for their first season based on the theory of Dulce Base in New Mexico. There's like a rumored there's a mountain there called the Archuleta Mesa, and there's rumors that kind of go back to like 70s, 80s, to where there was a battle between the government and this race of aliens that lived in this mountain. So we kind of explored that theory, and we got to interview Richard Doty, who was like an disinformant during that time that worked for the government, worked at Area 51, and he like infiltrated UFO circles and actually spread disinformation. So that was like, if you go to that episode, the interview with him was just like really cool. I mean, we don't know what he's saying is true or not because the government misinformed him, but it was just overall, it was a really cool episode. And then I just filmed another one for their, it's actually a cryptid case I filmed for their third season that they're still filming new episodes, and they're probably going to have me on a couple more. So
nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's fun. I mean, it's cool. You get to be paid to go and do all of this cool stuff, you know, places that when you were just hanging out with your friends with the Ouija board, you probably never dreamed that you would be able to go to.
Oh my God, no. Yeah, it's super. I definitely feel grateful. But yeah, I mean, I just love the traveling aspect of it, and just like hearing people's stories and seeing the way other people deal with experiencing phenomena. It's very fascinating to me from like a psychological standpoint.
Yeah. Because it's hard. I mean, how do you go to your family even, or your closest friends, and say, I saw an alien? You know what I mean? Like, not everybody's going to take that right.
Yeah, it's just so weird now, though, with UFOs being so prominent in the news. And of course, there's so many more paranormal shows now. But like back even in the early 2000s, late 90s, it was very much like people didn't openly talk about it as much. And if they did, they were definitely labeled as being total weirdos.
Yeah.
But now I feel like now more people are coming forward with their stories, and even like people that have had experiences with UFOs that have had stories that they've kept a secret for like decades, they're finally like bringing that out. And I think that's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, what was it? 2020, you know, our whole lives, the government said, no, aliens, no, that's not real. And then in 2020, amidst all the chaos that's going on in the world, the CIA just like slides this in like, oh, by the way, there are UFOs, you know? And then so now I think people are like, oh, okay, we're allowed to talk about that now.
Yeah, it's wild to think too that Congress is actually getting together and they have specific groups that study this stuff. And keep in mind, like, not a lot of these people even, I feel like they don't even know, like, sometimes what they're talking about. And they don't look at, like, civilian cases as much. But it's just still crazy to think that, like, you know, last year we had a congressional meeting, and it was the first time people got together since, like, Project Blue Book ended that to, like, have a meeting about this type of stuff. So it's neat. Like, I like it. I don't know. It's just so weird.
I feel like hopefully I would really hope that they're having more meetings than what they're telling us about. Like, you have to, I feel like you have to be pretty naive to think that we're the only like intelligent life. And you look up at the stars and you think like, Heisenberg, you're naive. You look up at the stars and you're like, every single one of those stars could have planets going around it.
Why do they? Why?
An infinite number.
Why?
There's no way that we could be the only one with intelligent life. I feel like we probably should be having more meetings talking about it and, you know, preparing for it or studying it or something.
The only real reason we'd be having those meetings is if they're already infiltrated the government and are running those meetings.
You know what? If you get on the weird side of TikTok, you'll see there's a lot of people posting UFO sightings lately.
Yeah.
I don't have TikTok.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, probably true.
Heisenberg is an alien, says John Ward, which is we're all agreeing with.
That's why he's like, no, they're not real.
No, they're not real. No.
I have been seeing a lot of people posting videos, and obviously they're not all real, but some of them are pretty compelling.
It's hard to tell the difference between what's real and what's not anymore, because you could do so much just with a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
You could shoot a whole movie and edit it, and it looks almost, I mean, it looks brilliant, but, you know, I don't know. Is it real? I don't know. Right. And it's UFOs, one thing I have not had an experience with. Like, I haven't seen them in the sky. You know, it's something that I'm hugely interested in, because I was like Heather, I was watching those shows and listening to those late night George Norrie episodes, and you know, I heard the episode where that guy was trying to fly his plane over Area 51, and it was ridiculous. The host, and Art, he was just going crazy. Like, you got to be careful. You got to get out of there. It was so dramatic, but it was so interesting. I'm like waiting on the edge of my seat, just wanting to hear he see something, or you know. But it's always been a huge interest of mine. But like, I don't even, how do you even get started researching that type of thing?
Right.
I mean, with any of this, I would just say, like, the way I got into it is I would just read about all the cases and do research on it and kind of compare and contrast. Like, what's interesting to me is like looking at how, like, if you want to say that it's all paranormal, but if you say like the ghost world and the UFO world, like there's a lot of similarities between the two. And I used to not think that until I started going on these investigations with Chuck Zukowski, and I just learned so much. And there's so many different, like, there's so many similarities between the two. You know, we worked on a lot of different, we worked with a lot of cattle ranchers that they're like 4th generation cattle rancher. Like, they know what they're doing. They know a lot about cattle, you know?
Yeah,
so,
right.
But their cattle livestock would die in these mysterious ways. And, you know, they'd have surgical incisions. There'd be no trace of blood, no signs of struggle. And after that would happen, they would see these lights in the sky that they would say were UFOs. You know, we couldn't find any explanation for it. And then they would go into their house and they would experience, you know, the kind of activity someone living in a haunted house would experience. So I think that I don't know if we'll ever find the complete answer, but I think that there's a similarity with like everything.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you guys a crazy story.
Uh-oh.
I mean, it's going to make me sound crazy.
Not on this show. Come on.
Do you remember?
You feel bad for like going against you right there. You're not going to be like, shh.
People were worried if you're going to tell us a normal story.
True. So on the show, we actually talked about that guy, and I can't remember the name of the club or whatever that he has, but people will go like into the desert, and he says that you can actually call UFOs to you. And he was saying, like, he was showing examples, and he's like, it's literally just as simple as going out there, concentrating and pointing to an area of the sky, and you will have experiences. And like, all these people go and they join him and they do it, and they're all amazed, whatever. So I was telling my 9-year-old about that. And so we did it. We were, you know, we live out in the country, so we have lots more stars, it looks like. But we're standing outside, we point to the sky, and we both point to the same spot. And I am not even kidding. We saw like what looked like a star that was not there before. So something appeared in the sky there, and it was brighter than the other ones. And then all of a sudden, he says, okay, could we go inside? And we go to walk inside, and he says, do you see that man standing on top of the house? And I'm like,
whoa,
what? And I was like, why don't you like move around? You know, maybe it's the light, maybe it's a tree, you know, whatever, like move to a different spot and see if you could still see him. And he moves around both ways, like 5 feet in each direction. And he goes, nope, he's still standing there.
Yeah.
So that's why it really freaks me out that you just said that, because we did see something in the sky. We were trying to, you know, communicate with aliens. And then all of a sudden he sees what he perceived as a ghost on top of the house.
Interesting. Yeah, that's so weird. The researcher you were talking about, Stephen Greer, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I would be interested in going on one of those excursions.
So would I.
Like thousands and thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched his documentaries, especially The Fifth Kind, which is basically
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
most of it is about that, and that was that was amazing.
Yeah.
And there's groups all over the place that you can join. I mean, it's not just his group. There's satellite groups all over the U.S. and God, the world really that
I might
follow
have
this
to look
thinking.
into that.
Yeah.
And
It had
it's
some-
interesting to think that there could be a connection with consciousness and UFOs. Like there's been studies about that too. And I know John Keel always thought that there was like an element of ESP involved in that. And I think that's kind of Stephen Greer's probably his standpoint on that.
Yeah. It's really weird. Ever since I was like probably a teenager, I've always been like interested in aliens, but at the same time, like not afraid, because I have this weird thing that I just think that they can tell the difference between good and evil. Like we don't need to try to justify our behavior to them. We don't need to try to beg for mercy and say like, no, I'm a good person. Like, I just feel like they probably already know.
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
So they would know our ideals of good and bad, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends on what their ideals are.
But no, I can see that. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd hope that, right? That they would
I
find,
do. Definitely.
you know,
hope that.
Yeah.
you would hope that they would know who the good people and who the bad people were.
Yeah. Like, I guess.
And
I
maybe
just feel
slightly bad's not that bad, really. And
Right.
then
I just feel like it wouldn't be an issue of not being able to communicate with them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like we have to know each other's language. I feel like we would just know.
I did an interesting episode of Alien Highway out in Sedona, and we were kind of studying like the relation of vortexes to UFO activity. And we interviewed, not all of this made the episode, but we interviewed this woman that claimed she was impregnated by an alien. And I was, obviously I was asking her a lot of questions about it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
obviously.
off
Right.
camera though.
Yeah,
Because I was
right.
very skeptical, obviously. But she was showing us these photos on her computer because she claimed that she went into a ship. And I was like, I'd really like to see the photos you took, because she kept talking about these photos. And she's showing us these photos, and she shows us like a blurry photo of like brake lights from a car backing up. That was very easy to tell it was a car. And she was trying to tell us that was the ship. And then she was showing us the inside of the ship. Everything was very blurry. But the whole thing that I noticed, because I'm an investigator, is like the timestamps on everything were showing up so we could see them, like the timestamps and the days and the time she took the photo, and none of it was like matching up with her story. And right away, I just called her out, and I was like, "Listen, lady," and they didn't put that in the episode because it was just very ridiculous. But something you had said made me think of that.
Yeah, that's wow. See, and then people like that, they give everyone else a bad name, and then they don't want to like speak up because, heaven forbid, you're linked in the same category as someone who claims that she was impregnated by an alien. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just makes it harder for people to talk when they do have things happen.
Yeah, I agree. Hi, Gregory.
Mr. Greg, how are you, sir?
Hello.
We've had him on the show. I missed that episode, unfortunately, because I can't remember what was going on. But I've met him personally. He's a really cool guy.
Where did we meet him at?
Oh, I don't know.
At Parapsychon at Mansfield last year.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you guys running into that again this year?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
I'll be there too.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, we signed up like as soon as they announced it, because that was such a good time.
It was fun. It was super fun.
Yeah, we signed in kind of late for it last year, and we almost didn't make it, but we're like, as soon as it came up this year, we're like, because it's just a great convention. Haven't been to a whole lot of big conventions like that, but that was a really good one. I like the way it was set up. And the only unfortunate part, because I knew you were there, I think I've been to 2 conventions that you were at. I just have not been able to get away from my table long enough to like come and say hi, Heather.
Oh man, now's your chance. We got two events. Yeah,
we did decide though this year that we're going to stop doing that. Like, we're going to definitely make time to have everybody get away from the table for a little bit.
I'll stay at the table. I don't know anybody.
Then I got to do some deep training on how to use the card reader for you. So you know,
Yeah, there's a lot of deep training that has to happen if that's the case. I'm like, you want that shirt? There you go.
Right. He'll just be giving stuff away. Yeah, Heather and I got to investigate together at MadCon last year.
We
That
did.
was fun.
We had some fun.
Yeah. It was fun. This was one of my favorite moments of MadCon. And it seems silly probably. But we were doing the Estes method, and like all of the guests were like I don't know if they were like scared to do it or what, but Heather's like, do you guys want to do it? And everybody was just like looking around like, no. And I'm like, Heather, do you want to do it? And she's like, I kind of do. I'm like, go for it. Like, never mind the guests. We're doing this right now.
Yeah, it's tough sometimes because you do these events, and I feel like people are very like, sometimes people say that they're like shy around me. I'm like, what? Like, I'm the most down to earth person.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Yeah.
Like, so I always find that funny when people just like, I literally ask a question and people just like stare at me like I'm some kind of alien.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I know. It was, and it's nice. I mean, I've done a lot of these now, and I love that you're super interactive with the guests. You're very nice to them. You know, you talk to all of them. You get them involved in the investigation as much as they'll allow. You know, I think it was a great time. I don't know. People kind of warmed up a little bit after that, but yeah, everybody was like, she's like talking to them, and she's like, does anybody want to try it? And they're like,
oh yeah, everybody.
When people like see someone on TV, they get weird, and I'm like, why?
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's weird to me. I maybe it's because I've been doing this for so long. It's kind of like, I don't know. It just doesn't mean anything to me. You know what I like? Being on TV doesn't really mean anything to me.
Yeah, and I think that I think that maybe they just have been exposed to people who are on TV and do treat people differently.
Right.
So they're not used to someone who's down to earth. And
I'm absolutely awful to people.
Yeah, because you're mega famous. Heisenberg has demands when he goes somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it was a good time. Julie said she had a good time investigating with you at MadCon last year.
Julie. Yeah.
It was a good time.
It's a cool location for sure.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, what did you think of Madison Seminary?
It was cool. You know, it's funny because I couldn't remember if I had been there before. And like early 2000s, I actually was there when other people owned it, and they had like different stuff inside of it, obviously before Adam had cleaned it out. But the thing that made me remember I was there was walking up into is that the attic?
Yeah, the top floor. The asylum.
Walking into that room, I was like, oh, I've definitely been here before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard room to forget.
Oh yeah. Those floorboards, man.
Yeah, so that was fun.
Really?
I'm excited to go back.
It's much nicer now that Adam has it. I mean,
oh yeah,
like half of it was used for their business back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, they're like the nursery.
Going. Yeah, they had the nursery, and half the areas were either shut off because they were using them for storage, or it's so much more accessible now, and there's so many more places to adventure into, and
plus we put furniture in like all the rooms, so you can sit down pretty much anywhere you go, which is nice.
Yeah, there's a good vibe there with all the furniture and stuff.
Haunted Hillview, you want to tell us about that?
Haunted Hillview, yeah. So I live in Pittsburgh, so I'm only an hour away from Hillview Manor, and it's like one of my favorite places to investigate. And I've been doing like over the past couple of years, I've been doing like a couple events there throughout the year, and I'm doing their HillCon event, which is I have it written down on my board. August. I'll be there August 11th and 12th. And it's a super fun event. There's a bunch of different, like I think Dave Schrader's going to be there. There's like a bunch of different people there, but Hillview Manor is an awesome location, especially for those, you know, who haven't been on like a ghost hunt or investigation before.
Yeah.
It's such a big location, and it's very active. And I really like the fact that the people that work there are super passionate about it. They're all amazing, and they do their own research. And since the place it closed in like 2004, so they have a lot of like old nurses and relatives of patients that will come in and give them like specific details So there's a
Right.
lot known about the activity and the spirits in there. So
Right.
it's a cool spot. I'm doing that event in August, and then I'm doing another one in October.
Okay. Yeah, we had the Hillview people on here.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we had
We had the
Stu
whole
and
crew on.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
We're gonna do a live stream, I think, and then something happened.
Yeah. Somebody was
they
filming.
Yeah, they forgot somebody else was filming at the time. It's
Mhm.
it is what it is. But
Yeah,
I
that's
still haven't
definitely a
been there.
bucket list place.
Oh, you have to go. You guys
Yeah.
have to go there.
Yeah.
I've been there twice.
And
Yeah.
I do
Yeah, he's been
love
there.
I love hearing the passion from the people that work
Yeah.
there. You know,
Mhm.
they're fantastic.
Yeah, they're all amazing. Oh, I like this. This is a good question. I was reading it earlier. I can't remember correctly, but I feel like if you're exposed to a high level of like a specific mold, that it can make you hallucinate. It can
That's a
definitely
really
make
good
you, it
question.
can definitely make you sick. And it has to have some kind of like neurological effect on your brain, you would think. But I have heard of people getting sick exposed to mold. And I can't think of like specific kinds of it, but a lot of locations you go into, especially like abandoned ones, there is a huge potential for things like asbestos and mold. And I think that can lend to occurrences that people think are paranormal that could actually
Right.
be natural.
Especially like nausea and, things like
Yeah.
that.
Totally.
And I wonder how long, if there is like a neurological effect, I wonder how long. Like if you're in a building investigating for an hour,
Yeah.
maybe you're fine. But if it's
Yeah.
something that you're constantly exposed to, I wonder
Yeah,
how long.
that's
it would
true.
take.
I mean, and it's interesting to think like who wants to be the person that volunteers to do
Right.
that. See,
Not me.
not me.
Right.
Well, like
Eisenberg?
some
No.
of these
I don't like
investigators,
mushrooms.
like
I don't like mushrooms.
Kalani will go to a location and he'll stay there for a week, so maybe he's not having the effects on night one, but maybe, as he stays there longer, then he actually is starting to like hallucinate and stuff, but people are just thinking, oh wow, the building is getting more active.
Yeah, I'm sure too, like if you think of like it could cause some respiratory problems and make you feel like maybe you're being
Mhm.
choked and you can't breathe.
Yeah.
That's a huge possibility. I mean, I've been in so many different crazy buildings that like not normal people go into, that I'm sure that
Yeah.
someday I'm gonna like just drop over and have some kind of weird problem.
Yeah, there's going to be mold in our lungs,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's been a couple
That was a good
places
question.
we've come home from where a few of us have been sick, for like a week after.
Yeah.
Penhurst was one for me because we were getting into some spots that were still kind of like they were underwater a little bit. There's still a little bit of flooding going on.
Yeah.
But that Penhurst was freaking amazing. I don't care. I could have been sick for a month. It was definitely worth it for me.
Worth it.
Yeah, the basement of, I think specifically the Mayflower building in Devon. I remember like
Yeah.
the smell and I don't
Yeah.
like being in that. But if you guys have seen, me and Katrina Weidman have a YouTube series we've been working on called Travel the Dead. And we just premiered our episode. It's in 3 parts on her YouTube channel. We just premiered our episode at Penhurst, and we got so much crazy activity there.
Nice.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'll
Nope.
stop touching it. Beyond hallucinations, what about expanding the senses or
Changing
brain? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's totally possible. I mean, look at I did an episode for Paranormal State. It was called The Sickness, and we went to a house that was built on top of a mine where there was once an explosion. And
I think I remember that episode.
it was a really good one. The woman, she was hallucinating. She had serious respiratory problems. She actually went to the hospital while we were there.
I remember that episode definitely.
Yep, she was seeing shadows. She was feeling pressures on her chest. She was seeing figures and things. And we brought in someone to check the furnace, and the levels were like super high. And we actually built our own Faraday cage to try to block out the EMF, because I was really feeling it. Like it feels like when you're exposed to EMF a long time, it feels like there's like a pressure, like your brain is being pressed down on. It's a weird feeling. You start to get sick, you start to get loopy. And that's definitely like that. Yeah, high amounts of EMF can definitely have an effect on people and cause them to hallucinate.
And okay, I'm going to say something controversial. I feel like a lot of people in the paranormal don't know that. I feel like a lot of people just always want to say, oh no, it's paranormal. You know what I mean? When there's so much actual science behind it, like that needs to be ruled out before you just jump to conclusions that, you know, everything's super haunted, everything's a demon, you know. I think it does a disservice to just always say like you could have easily gone in there and told that lady, oh yeah, you're pretty much possessed. Your house is crazy, you know, but you solved the problem for her, you know.
And imagine if that would have kept going. I mean, she was dead. Like it was bad. She was not in good health. But no, you're totally right. There's a lot of environmental factors that people don't think about in a location. For example, high humidity, mold, EMF, just temperature in general. And I feel like, you know, a lot of the TV shows, the thing I really appreciated about Paranormal State is we conducted a lot of different experiments to kind of, you know, put more of like the natural to it, to where there are things that people don't, that get overlooked. And I think in this field in general, you know, people are obviously fascinated by things that are mysterious, things that they can't explain. And there's a lot of people that they don't want it to not be paranormal.
Right.
They want it to be paranormal. There's even like just stress in your life can cause paranormal experiences. You know, if you're going through a great amount of stress, grief, depression. And I feel like a lot of times people can be the problem in a haunting. And that was one thing I definitely saw working on the variety of cases in Paranormal State. And I think a lot of times if people have a problem, that the explanation of a ghost is easier than actually solving the problem.
Right. Especially if it's a, you know, something that's like PTSD or grief or something. That's tough. Nobody wants to deal with that. So it is just easier to say, oh yeah, it's got to be a ghost. But I think that's important. I feel like that's actual investigating, you know, not just having the paranormal experiences, but investigating the cause of them, because it's not always paranormal.
And it's tough too with a lot of the TV shows now. I feel like, you know, obviously everything's entertainment, television is entertainment, but I feel like I would love to dive into more of like how the equipment is used, how it's put together, because I feel like a lot of people don't know anything about the equipment they're using, and they're using it in the wrong way. And I would love to just have a show where like it goes more into depth. I mean, a lot of people would probably be bored by that, but to me, that's the most interesting, the way people look at things like that. That's fascinating to me.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd watch that.
It might not be, you know, TV's definition of entertaining, but I think that would be awesome.
Totally. Maybe someday I'll try my best.
At least a YouTube series.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally.
You could do one, you know, one piece of equipment every episode. And, you know, I love research though. I love doing that kind of stuff. You know, you could research who invented it, why they invented it, how they came up with it, you know.
Yeah, I'm always really into just the history of buildings and the architecture, because there's just so many really cool buildings that, I don't know, like just for example, downtown Pittsburgh, like I'm super observant of things, and I'm always like at times looking up, and you just notice these like architecture elements that are just so amazing, and nothing would be built like that today. It's always sad to me when a lot of these historical buildings get torn down, because it's nothing like it now.
I will literally cry when, you know, when they post pictures of like the rubble, or like, it's because you're right, they don't build things like they used to. Like back then, if there was a builder and their name was associated with the building, they did everything perfect. They did everything, they put everything they had into it. And now it's just like whatever's the cheapest and the quickest, you know, and they just get it done as quick as they can. And it's, you know, 100 years from now, these houses are not going to be around. These buildings
Oh,
are
no.
not going to be around. You're going to have the 200-year-old buildings that are still standing though.
Yeah.
That's why I really want to go to Europe, because of
Yeah.
all the historical buildings there, like, and it feeling like you're in another time. Like, I would love that, because I feel like I hate seeing all the new strip malls and all the new buildings.
Right.
Everything's so square, white, and boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Who wants to look at stuff like that? There's
Yeah.
no character to it.
Right. And plus, like, America is such a baby when it comes to history, you know, and you could go to these places that have like castles that are like 1,000 years old. And we're like, ooh, look at this building that was built in 1902, you know, like, it's just a totally different type of history.
Yeah. I hope that someday I can go overseas and explore the haunts over there.
Yeah.
Yes. That'd be amazing. Heather, do you think having the Tesla coil helped stir up activity at Pennhurst?
I definitely think it did. Although at Pennhurst, I don't even think you need equipment to have experiences. But we did have, we had a tiny Tesla coil, and I think it definitely helps. You know, if you believe the theory that, you know, EMF, whatever we're working with, spirits, ghosts, whatever, they use that to kind of manifest or create activity. But I've worked with Tesla coils that were literally like huge, like taller than me. And when when you turn those on, it's such a terrifying noise.
Yeah.
I remember this one web series I worked on. We rented one to use on an episode, and it was just like so intense. So it was really cool to see Zach use the real tiny one that we used at Pennhurst.
Thank you.
Yeah, that seems much better. They do make a terrifying noise.
Yeah.
I don't know, because your brain is just like, oh, there's about to be an electrical fire, you know, every 10 seconds when the noise goes off.
And it's so odd too, because the area we were at was one of the areas at Pennhurst where they had these like little cubicles. And if you watch the old the documentary Suffer the Little Children, where it would show, you know, the horrible conditions at Pennhurst, these were the areas where they would have like 5-6 beds in one room, and it was super overcrowded. And strangely enough, me and Zach, who I had just met, he's one of Katrina's friends. I had just met him when we filmed that Child of the Dead episode. And we had the same experience in that same area where we decided to start the investigation with that Tesla coil. And we were getting those responses on the Tesla coil where it was sparking, but there was like nothing that could have caused it to spark. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I want to get, that's one piece of equipment I'd love to get to use on investigations. I don't have one.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I wonder how hard those are to make yourself. I'd be afraid of making something that powerful.
I'd be afraid of like electrocuting myself or something.
Right.
I'm not a tech guy, and it's like
I
always like get these like random gift boxes and stuff that look really cool, like old chests. I'm like, I want to make something really cool out of this, and it just sits here and collects dust. And collects junk and like old letters and stuff, and just like,
it's possible though.
Better at that.
Yeah. So somebody make Heather one. She wants one. Did we?
What's that?
What equipment do you want to learn more about?
What equipment would I want to learn more about that I feel like I don't have enough knowledge of? Ooh, good question, Patience. Let me think about this for a second. That I don't know about.
Or just that you would want to know more about. Like maybe something that like fascinates you and you don't understand how it works, and you'd like to learn more about it.
I like to understand how the cat balls work.
Oh yeah, the light activated ones. They're so fun to use. I don't know. Gosh, I don't know. I might have to go back to that question.
Okay.
Because I feel like, I've used a ton of different equipment. If anything, it would be something newer that maybe someone just created.
Yeah.
But no.
I always think
I have learned one thing about equipment. Don't walk around with an EM pump that's on in your back pocket for an hour.
Oh no.
Just horrible headache, nausea. And I'm like, what? I don't understand what's going on. And I'm like,
I thought it was hilarious.
How did I not realize that this thing is vibrating in my back pocket for this long?
It had a light on even.
I know. I'm just like walking around with it. It's on, and actually, I think it ran so long the battery drained. It's horrible. I don't suggest it.
I'm wondering if Tim is posting videos on how to make a Jacob's ladder.
Possibly.
Because he posted a video and then said many more to choose from. So
I'm afraid I'd make something that would inadvertently open up the wrong part of the universe.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I have an answer now. Something that could enable us to go to like another dimension. I'd love to have a piece of equipment that we could peer beyond another dimension and see what's there. All
right. Let me get those instructions and see what I could create.
Yeah. Got to be instructions on Instructables or something. Yeah.
I'm sure once I tried to do a Jacob's ladder, it would inadvertently do that. So
yeah, same thing. Yeah. I find it fascinating that the spiritualist methods, like the really old ones, like Becca was talking about, because so many of them people still use it today.
Totally.
It's like,
even something as simple as just tying like a bell to a door.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I love reading about spiritualism, and that's definitely one thing, like especially the Ouija board, that got me really into this subject.
Yeah. Oh, see, it is cool. So you guys can build one now.
Right.
Yeah, but things like pendulums, people still use those. And a long time ago, they would literally just take an acorn and tie it to a string, and that's what they would use. But obviously there's some truth to it. Obviously people are getting good answers and stuff all these years because they still do it.
The pendulum kind of goes with the Ouija board.
Right.
Because of the, the whole, one of the, you have the spiritualist theory for the Ouija board, and then you have the, like the automatism theory, where it's like the idiomotor effect, where it's your muscles spasming and you're actually doing it yourself.
Yeah.
That's we actually
did an experiment with that. And we would have the people who were touching the Ouija board would be blindfolded. And then there was somebody asking questions and then like watching to see what the response was. There was never once a single actual response. Just saying. When the people who are moving it can't see where the letters are, it doesn't answer real questions. So I feel like that says something. Oh, Tim's really hooking you guys up with the.
Oh yeah, good point, John. John's bringing up the Ouija boards. So it's funny. Yeah, the Ouija boards, like you can find old advertisements of this, which are really cool to see. But Ouija boards started out as like really fun entertainment parlor games. They were used during the Civil War when, women lost their husbands and brothers in the war, is kind of a way for them to deal with grief. But then they turned into this parlor game that was more entertainment. And then I'm pretty sure after The Exorcist came out, that's kind of when it went more towards humans. So,
and it is funny with the Ouija boards because people will, they'll say, "Oh, don't do that. You're messing with things you don't understand," which, okay, that could be true. But also it is literally no different than using like a pendulum or dowsing rods or any other device where your body is controlling their thoughts or like whatever, displaying their thoughts. It's literally the same thing. But there's not Hollywood movies about pendulums and dowsing rods. So
not yet, Denise. Not yet.
Coming out next week, The Pendulum
and the dowsing rod.
The scrying mirror is another one.
Yeah. I won that scrying mirror at MadCon, and I put it in a corner and I haven't even looked into it yet. I'm like, I don't know. I'm afraid what I'll see. I don't know. That kind of, I'm intrigued by all that spiritualist, the tools and the equipment they use. But to me, that is so much more like scarier. I mean, and it's because, I guess because of a lot. We grew up thinking it's all demonic and all that kind of stuff. But you know, like want to like learn about. Like I'm gonna start making my own Ouija boards. I like bought some stuff to like start making them.
I told John I was going to make him one.
Yeah. My wife has started getting like heavy into crafting, and she's like showing, oh, you should do this for your Ouija board. And I'm like, now I got all these ideas, but will I use it? I don't know.
When you think about, you know, spiritualism, I feel like there was more of like a stronger human connection than there is now.
Yeah.
Got in a way. But yeah, I like thinking of just like an old classic seance and just, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about making a Ouija board where the letters are kind of just chaotically put on the board to make it a little bit more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're not you would have to think way too hard if your body's like telling you how to do it yourself, or like you're subconsciously coming up with the response and moving it. Like if you have the letters laid out in front of you, you know where everything is. But if you kind of mix it up and just pull off the board, mix them in with the letters and the answers, then maybe there's a possibility that it would work a little bit more. I don't know.
You could totally just leave letters out and then see what happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But wouldn't the owner of the board know that stuff? Wouldn't they be the ones that might be pushing it a little bit? They know where those letters are?
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I wouldn't use it though.
No, it intrigues me. I don't do it because I'm afraid that I would push the letters. Like I like to watch it and hear about it, but I don't.
Okay.
I don't touch it because I'm afraid my mind.
It's the same reason. It's the same reason I'm afraid to use my dowsing rods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with pushing it though. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like they're using your body to manipulate the board or the pendulum or the dowsing rods in a certain way so that it'll give the response that they want to say. So in theory, you're kind of supposed to push it, right? Otherwise, you would just set the planchette on the board and just not do anything with it. Like they need you to move it.
I mean, it would be amazing if you could just set it there and it would move.
Right.
That's the way it
Although
should
I'd probably be out. I'd be like, nope, not doing it.
No, it's interesting because you're right. Like,
thank you.
There's such a mythology with Ouija boards, and that's why I've always been so fascinated, because some people see them as a joke. Some people see them as like, oh my gosh, it's going to catch on fire. Like, it's just so crazy. And I've had experiences. I've never had anything seriously insane happen to me, but I've had experiences that I've definitely questioned. And the board has told me information that I had no idea of, that was private information that my cousin and I played it, and it was telling us things about our grandmother, and we were too young to even know. We weren't told this information. So how did it, I mean, it wasn't something that just was like stored in our unconscious that came out when we were playing the board. So that's one of my first experiences to where I was like, oh my gosh, like there's something to these. But I also think that it's kind of harmless. It's all about the way you use it.
Right.
Yeah. And that's honestly the way, I mean, with any piece of equipment. I mean, it's the intentions behind it.
Or even any investigation. If you go into an investigation, you know, with good intentions, then you're bound to have a better experience than somebody whose intentions are to get scratched and start shit, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I haven't seen that yet. Weirdly enough, I went to the Talking Board Museum in Salem, and I had seen stuff from their collection, like at Michigan Paracon and things like that. And I finally got to see like the museum, and it's super cool. I was like in there for hours because
that's Robert Murch's place, right?
It's Robert in Murch? Salem. Yeah, he's involved in society, and John is the one who runs it. He's super cool guy. And it's cool because they have one of the original like stencils for the board.
Oh, cool.
Which is like a metal stencil. And they have Kenneth Folds, they have his pocket watch that was in his pocket when he fell from the factory building in like this like freak accident. He fell, and they have this pocket watch, and then they have the original wooden board from the 20s that Helen Peters went with Elijah Bond to the patent office to show them how it works. That's like the original board. So it's really cool. If you guys get the chance to go there, it's super worth it. And it's really funny because it's in the back of like a Harry Potter store in Salem.
Really?
So weird. Yeah.
Hey, Sage.
Yeah.
Did we get to Tony? Let's get to Tony's question.
Oh, yeah. What is everyone's favorite piece of equipment?
Favorite piece of equipment? I really like any kind of spirit box, Frank's box, any of those I think are really interesting to work with because you kind of never know what you're going to hear. And I like kind of testing out those theories around the any like form of ICT. But what else was I going to say? I just totally lost my train of thought. I'm definitely a huge fan of spirit boxes. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
There you go.
I am too. And I don't know. It could just be the ADHD and I don't have the patience to wait for an answer on a Ouija board or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I just like things where you can ask a question and then somebody answers. I don't know. I just like that instant gratification of those kind of things.
It's weird too when they say your name and stuff. Yeah. And it's also weird when you hear a voice come through that sounds like someone you know. That's happened to me before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really weird because people will hear Shelly or I on the spirit box or on, whatever box at the seminary.
That's crazy.
And it just makes you think that like maybe it's just our energy stained the walls or something because we're there all the time or whatever. Yeah. But people will be like, I swear I just heard you talking.
They probably did. I'm just kidding.
Right.
I mean, that's definitely something I would love to know how to like, even the ones people used to make back in the day with like, they called them hack shacks where they'd make them from like a little Radio Shack radio thing. Yep. I would love to like, I mean, I have the basic idea of how they work, but I'd love to actually build one and add different things into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing. I always wanted to build one of those myself, and I'm like, I had all the pieces and parts, and I'm trying to put it together. I can't figure it out. I'm like, reached out to Jeff Fent. I'm like, can you help me? And he built me what I call the grandpa box because most of the people here have seen it, but he's got my grandfather's like military World War II picture engraved on the side of it, and it's really cool. I love using that thing. And you were saying like hearing your name called out almost every single time, and these two are witnesses. Every time I turn it on, I hear, "Hey, Goose." Like they're not just using my name; they're using my nickname, and it's hilarious, and I love it.
It makes you wonder too if, like, say there's, you guys go to Mansfield a lot and investigate, right?
I've been there a couple times. Yeah.
I've been there a few times. Yeah.
Do you ever wonder if like whatever's there like remembers you?
Right.
You leave an imprint when you go there?
Yeah, for sure.
I believe so. Especially like Madison. I think that's the place that we go to, several times a year. I mean, if I'm not there at least 5 or 6 times, it's been a bad year.
well, plus here's the other thing though that throws me off about that, because who's to say that when you go to these locations, it could be a location you've never been to before and you'll hear your name whenever. Like, people don't know. It could be somebody that follows you all the time. It could just be like one of your spirit guides, your grandma, whatever. It could be somebody that follows you, and that's the responses that you're getting. So it's hard. I like to think that, you make an impression when you go to a building, but I don't know.
I just wish that, you go to these old places, and a lot of times back in the early days, not everything, not every death, not every like tragic thing was documented. It's hard to sometimes back up the claims with historical research. I just wish that we knew everything, because who knows that name could have been someone really prominent that's like haunting the place that we don't know anything about.
Yeah. And like Madison, you know, it's a big building. It's the biggest building in town. And, you know, the historical society claims they know everything about it. And, you know, oh, nothing tragic ever happened there. Then we find out that one of the superintendent's wife committed suicide in the building. You know what I mean? Like shot herself in the heart in the building. Like that history has been covered up for all of these years. Nobody ever knew about it. And that was the caretaker's wife, like the superintendent's wife. That she was a very important person. So what's happening to the patients that's not getting talked about? Because they're just patients, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it's completely impossible to fully know the history of a lot of these locations and to obviously know what happened there. Wouldn't it be cool if we did?
Yes.
Like, yeah. I mean, places, especially like seeing what you guys have dug up at Madison, it's like it would be like a book like this thick. Like,
right.
I mean, the places like, and that's the way I always view these historical places. They're all like living history books. Like, if you just go back, and I don't think you could. I don't know. It's like I'm writing a book about historical haunts in the county that I grew up in.
Oh, cool.
And there's been a few things that I've found that, like you said, the historical society either got wrong or didn't know. Luckily, the historical society I work with, they're completely cool with it. They're like, well, that's amazing. Thank you. We're going to like change everything and make sure everybody knows this. And it was something as simple as just looking at death records. You know, I could get them online and like put the dates and everything together. It's like some things just didn't make sense. I'm like, this guy only lived from this point to this point. How did he build this house when he was 2 years old? You know, it doesn't make sense. So I showed him that, and I gave him the documents that I seriously just took right off the internet, you know, with there's so much information, you know, and don't Google it. You got to like get into it, but you know, it's amazing. I'm finding the same thing with history in other places that I'm diving into.
And think about too, like I've investigated a lot of brothels, you know, a lot of old buildings that were saloons and brothels, and there's prostitution there. Imagine all of the murders and horrible things that are just like covered up too. Like we just so much. Like the research is the best. Like the thing on Paranormal State that always blew my mind is when we would bring in, you know, Lorraine Warren, and we would just be in a residential client home. She would know nothing about it. There would be no way she could know anything about it. We would pick her up personally from the airport, bring her to the location, immediately mic her, and let her go to each room. And I'd be sitting at tech, like listening to everything and writing everything down. And it just blew me away because we did a lot of historical research before even deciding what case we would do. And so I would know a lot of stuff, but it was always amazing when she would pick up on something that we later found out that like something just spot on. We were like, how would she know this? And then we'd later go to the library and go through the microfilms and like find this article or something. It just, that was always like really crazy to see.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me, but at the same time, like, I don't think I could do that. I don't mess with scrying mirrors because I love the fact that I cannot see spirits. I love the fact, like, I want to keep it that way. I don't want to intentionally look into a scrying mirror and see something. Like, I'm totally cool with not seeing things, you know, feeling things.
Maybe once.
But I can imagine, like, imagine every room you walk into, there's just spirits in there and they're telling you their story. And no, I don't want any part of that. Sorry, Becca. Sorry, Becca.
Yeah, Becca's like, every day of my life.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
It's like, thank you for reaching out, but if you could just show me the documentation, that would be good enough.
I would rather do research all day long than to learn about things that way.
And even just working with Michelle and Rebecca, I know you've totally worked with Michelle too. Like with her, it's always amazing seeing her during a reading because she picks up on things from the people. Like on Travel the Dead, for instance, we use her as sort of like remote viewing. You know, she's in Ohio. We're at a haunted mansion built in the 1700s in New Jersey. She has no idea where we're at all. She can't even see. She doesn't have her glasses on. And, you know, we're walking around FaceTiming with her, and she's literally saying, this arched doorway you're going through, go up to the 3rd floor. And it's just like, it's insane. It blows your mind. But
Yeah.
the crazy thing about her is she's just so good at, like, you don't know what layer of history she's picking up on a lot of the time. So there's even a lot of stuff that she'll say that I wonder, oh, I wish we could like back this up historically, because it seems like it's totally legit. Like, she's amazing to work with.
Yeah.
But it's, but the history is written by the people who were in charge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're in charge of a medical facility, you're not going to say that somebody died tragically.
Right.
You're not going to say all of these things, and especially back then, it was whatever the man that was in charge said was what happened. We've had so many people investigating this woman's suicide that have said there's no way she committed suicide. And, I've talked to people who are, people who do autopsies and stuff, and they're like, yeah, no, a lot of times they wouldn't even do one, because if the man said, oh, she shot herself in the heart, they'd be like, oh, okay. And they write that down as cause of death. There was like no investigation into it. It was just whatever people said, okay, we're going to write that down as the official history from now until eternity.
Yeah.
It's, oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Not always the dose. Usually, yeah.
No. I couldn't do it, Becca. I don't know how you do it.
No.
Yeah, that's too much. So, like, I feel like I pick up on other people's emotions.
Yeah.
Somebody's crabby or whatever. Like, you could feel the energy draining from yourself, but not to the extent that Becca does. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I don't think I could handle it.
Yeah, I like the nerdy history research, reading books, looking through the old newspaper articles. I'll take that any day.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, it's too much.
You guys feel, though, as the more and more we've been doing this, though, that your sensitivity has improved or grown stronger doing that?
I think that I picked up on things differently. Like, I used to perceive things differently, I don't know, like things that I thought were a sign of something being close to me before.
Yeah.
Now I like recognize what it is.
Oh, she's referring to
story time.
So at Hillview Manor, one of the well-known people that used to live there, her name was Mary, and she was a jokester. She was blind, and she had a glass eye, or she had glass eyes that she would take out and like put in the nurse's hands. And I think I'm getting this, but she had this rocking chair in her room they actually still have there, and she would rock on it so much that the people on the floor below her would like complain. So they put these like pads on the bottom of the rocking chair. So I had a group in there, and I was like, I'm going to sit in her chair and see if this, does anything. And we set up, we did the mag light flashlight trick where we sat it on the windowsill. And when I do that, I always like to kind of stomp near the area and make sure there's nothing that could like affect it or move it. And so we were good there, but the timing of it was crazy because every time like I would sit in the chair, it would either go on or off, and we would be like, do you not want Taddy to sit in your chair anymore? And it would just like go super bright. And then if you want me to get up, turn the light off, and it would just turn off. Like the timing was impeccable, like after every question we asked. So that's what she was referring to at Hillview. And that's happened multiple times at that place.
Nice. Well, get out of her chair.
Right.
Sorry. You got it. So, that's the beauty of paranormal investigating. Since we don't know, everything's a working through. We don't know what we're dealing with. You have to think outside of the box.
Right.
Whatever you can to get a response.
Oh, shit.
Do you ever take any of your old equipment that you used in junior high to go do investigations?
No, because my micro cassette recorder, the one I specifically had when I was really young, I used it through like halfway through Paranormal State. I think the 3rd season it finally just broke, and I never really got a new one. After that, I just kind of went digital, but I'd love to go back. I should get another one. I have like a boom box that plays micro cassettes, and I've taken that on an investigation before.
Oh, that's cool.
But I don't have any of the original stuff that I used to use. You know, it was very basic. It was a video camera, a recorder, you know, a Ouija board. So
yeah. Where's those videos at?
Oh, they're in the TADDY vault because I like.
Should be like Disney and just release one like every year.
Yeah, there's a lot of
really. And re-release it whenever the media changes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
it'd be fun.
I actually still have a lot of my original equipment, even my $10 EMF detector.
Nice.
Cool.
Still sitting in an old case like that I don't even use anymore.
Yep. I still got my still have my voice recorder that I got at Radio Shack.
I still got my
first one I bought, voice recorder. Only one I used really.
Yeah.
Still.
I have 3 different voice recorders. One's a little bit better than the other one, but the one that I get the most on, that I love the most, is the oldest one, the first one that I bought.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, and it's not like some of them that pick up a lot of static, you know, automatically. It's still pretty clear, but it does have like the voice activation. So like you can get like, it's easy to do a burst session and like review it on site. So you're not listening to like a full 20 minutes of recording. But yeah, I have like an old camera that was like, when they still use the mini CDs or the mini DVDs or whatever you want to call them, but they were like the little things. Yeah. It's all sitting in a case somewhere.
When I worked with we used to work with Debbie and Mark Constantino a lot, and they were like the EVP specialists. And we got so much good results from using the Panasonic DR60 recorders that now if you try to get them, they're like thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah.
We had a bunch of them in PRS. You know, we had all this equipment, and I wish I would have just like took one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one piece of equipment I'd love to get my hands on though.
Yeah.
They are nice.
What jail is Darren? Darren, what jail are you referring to?
Old Licking County.
Old Licking County. Yeah, you gotta go there. You haven't.
Never been.
Let me know if you're ever up to a trip to Cleveland. The House of Wills.
Oh, that's on my list. I would love to go there. I was signed up for their email list to do like over November, December. They did like a tour. It was like a random day of the week. They only did a couple of them, and I was on the list, but I just couldn't go.
They do a lot of photography tours, but I keep talking to these guys. I need to get back in there because I've investigated there quite a bit, and it's really hard because the area is not good.
Yeah,
it's a very rough part of Cleveland, but you know we got to do what we got to do, right? We got to.
So what happened when you were there? What was it like?
Well, we had the one time we had our groups there. We did this amazing table tipping session, kind of going back into the spiritualist movement type stuff. We were listening to Motown, and we're kind of singing and grooving to it. And we had this little round table. This thing started rocking back and forth like crazy. And we're like singing, like looking at each other, like, okay, who's tipping it? Like we're like not trusting each other, but at the same time, like some of us had taken our hands off, and this thing is still going like crazy.
Oh my goodness!
So there's a lot of that going on.
There's watching
been
it.
A lot of
so cool.
I helped out, or I was honored to be a part of when Resident Undead filmed there. I'm sure Rebecca could fill you in on all the craziness that ensued there, but she was picking on some crazy stuff, and even while we were filming, like we're not paying attention. I heard a woman screaming. There's a lot of disembodied voices happening.
Wow.
There's a lot of things that even happened not as part of the history, but there was like a drug deal or something that went wrong, and somebody got shot in the stomach and died like on the front steps. And our group, while we were there filming, and other groups have heard this about the same time every night, this ruckus, like doors trying to open and people yelling at each other. Yeah, it's an intense place. I mean, as far as local places, it's interesting. It's very intense.
The owner is very fascinating to me. I read a lot of articles about him.
Yeah.
I'd like to just meet him and have a conversation with him too.
He's awesome to talk to. I mean,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are set off by his beliefs, but there's nothing behind it. He's a good human being. He's trying to save this building.
Yeah.
You know, and his thought on the building is really he wants to get it back to being part of the community, like an important piece of the community. But I feel like sometimes he's fighting a war that might not be able to be won because the place is in a fair amount of disrepair. Still beautiful, but I mean, he would need, I don't know how much money he would need to actually get it to where like people could come and enjoy it like the way he wants it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh, nowadays with like crowdfunding, I feel like if he put something up like to enable people to be able to go there and investigate, I mean, people would donate money for that.
Oh yeah,
I feel like they would. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a point in time where I had the keys to the place and I could just go in by myself, but I was too afraid to because the town is just a bad neighborhood.
Yeah, that's not a place you just stop by.
Yeah, you have your ghost hunting equipment, and then you might have some other equipment that you carry on you if in case you need it. But yeah, it's an amazing place, and the history is amazing. I talk about it all. I think I've talked about it like for the last 3 episodes.
I know.
At some point that
it's a sign we need to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 2 hours from Cleveland. Like, I go there randomly here and there. I have a friend that lives there. Like, someday that's like on my list of places to go.
Yeah.
I'll keep you updated if we can get a group in there.
Oh yeah, awesome. Totally. I'll totally go.
Yeah. Cool.
I'll go in
What's
there.
The best?
I'll wear a bulletproof vest.
Right.
There you go. Well, if you go with me and maybe Tony, you'll be safe with some other things.
Yeah.
What's the best EVP you've captured?
Oh my gosh. There's so many. Okay, a more recent one. When I guest starred on the a couple Portals to Hell episodes. This wasn't an EVP I got though. Maybe I shouldn't tell this story because it was one someone else got.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
The best ever EVP you've ever heard. Let's put it that way.
Best I've ever heard. Okay, so this guy named Brian owned this place called the Stevenson Building in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, and he turned it into like a museum to store his huge oddities collection. He had a ton of different haunted objects from different haunted locations and things that people would send him. And he had this really creepy clown that it was called Mr. Peasbottom. And it was, the story behind it was that it was made in a German concentration camp. And everybody who has had it since either got into like a car accident, some freak accident, they died. There's just like a long list of stories to this doll. You don't know what's true, what's not. But they put this in the museum and he would have paranormal investigations in there. And it's just this weird clown from the 1940s. And it's in this box that has chicken wire around it. And then there's metal chain around it. It's the craziest thing. So he has this thing, this clown. And first of all, the building that he has his oddities collection in, there's so many really dark layers of history to this place. Like the KKK used to have their meetings there. It used to be a brothel. They used to hang people out in front of this building. A lot of really intense, horrible history. So he brings in all these objects, doesn't know their past, doesn't know if there's any kind of energy attached to these objects, brings them in and uses them as trigger objects for his investigations. And someone picked up this EVP. It sounds like a little boy, and clear as day, it says, "I'm stuck in this box." Like clear as day, to where I'm like, okay. But what's weird too is, you guys know this too, a lot of times with EVPs, you can hear that it's on like a different frequency to where it's not just someone talking into a recorder. You can tell that it's.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I listened to it so many damn times. I was like, oh my gosh. And then during this time, someone got scratched. And in my head, I'm like, why would you be doing this with this, this doll? Look at it. It's insanely creepy. If it has some kind of history to it, but then he continuously did this with other objects. But that's one of the most amazing EVPs I've ever heard.
That's so. What do you think about dolls, though? Like, I don't understand how a person's spirit.
We
would
really
get
have to
attached
talk
a
about
doll.
that now.
I mean, so I think I
It's
love
too late.
dolls.
We're going to bed soon.
Yeah.
I do love dolls. I don't think that every doll is haunted, but I mean, I think the whole like legend with dolls being haunted is like they're little people. Like it makes sense. People look at a doll and they're like, it's creepy. It's like a little tiny person.
Yeah.
And a lot of old dolls from like the 30s and 40s have like really like insane looking eyes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where
Yeah.
it's just like, what is up with that doll? But I love old dolls. I used to work. I lived in North Carolina for a short time, and I worked for this Italian woman that had this really unique gift store, and she collected all these insane things, and she was obsessed with dolls. She had like a doll museum in her house, and I would take the dolls and I would do research on them to try to figure out what year they were from.
Oh,
And
cool.
what they were made of. So I learned a lot. So now when I go into haunted places, I'm like, this doll's from 1942 because yeah, I love dolls.
That's cool.
I do not.
Not so much. Not so much.
It was a good one too.
Ooh, what do I think
about astral projection?
I don't think I personally. Well, I might have one experience personally with myself with it. It's definitely something I like reading about and thinking about. But there was this one time I thought I was having sleep paralysis, but in this situation, I was like I was out of my body and I was looking down on my body while I was sleeping on a couch, and I saw this shadow come in front of me. I don't know if that would be considered astral projection, but it felt like sleep paralysis because my diaphragm froze up. I couldn't, move or anything. So,
I don't see why not.
Would be astral projection, but I've always kind of wanted to try to explore that more.
It's definitely very cool. It intrigues me so much.
Mm-hmm. Same with like near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, reincarnation, like all that is so
reincarnation is another one that gets me. Like these little kids talking about when they flew the planes in the war and they can tell you how to drive a freaking World War II bomber plane. You're like, that's not right. That should not happen.
Yeah, one of those cases, I forget who the researcher was on that one, but I feel like one of them with the little kids, the kid gave like a specific address that they confirmed.
Yeah.
Like kids don't know that. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, the one I saw, you were talking about the one with the world, like he like gave his name as like just some random World War II pilot. And it's like it matched up. They found this guy. Like he was a real dude. And just I would love to like go through a past life regression with somebody just to see like, but I'm afraid if I do that, they're like, well, yeah, you're pretty much new. Well, you're the first goose of all gooses. So
they say though that when you do that, it's possible to like wake those parts of you up, and then you have all of their emotions as well. So like if you go through the regression, then who knows, you might have been a slave or something, and then you have those feelings and those memories. And then that, I mean, if you've lived 100 lifetimes, that's a lot of bad memories to have. That's what scares me.
Damn.
Well, for me,
it's hard too because, like, I feel like your brain could fill in a lot of gaps to where you could make stuff up or be led on in a way.
Yeah.
So it's hard to. Wouldn't that be a cool show? It's like doing regressive hypnosis on people and trying to figure that out.
Because you're right. If you've ever done research on a particular topic, you could probably easily make up a life about it.
Right.
Oh,
So,
well, it's just like for like certain cultures or certain eras of history where I'm like extremely attached to, like I have this connection with, like, and I don't know if it's just because it's like I like the stories about it, or if it's like maybe in a past life I was part of that culture or part of that belief system or whatever it is. Like everybody knows I'm obsessed with anything Viking lore or a satire of paganism or anything like that. But there's got to be something deeper. And I mean, it's put a point where I've done the DNA tests, and if it's not like Scandinavian, it's some place that probably at one point in time was, conquered, or my people ended up in that area. But my people, they usually ended up a lot of the time being assimilated into the culture that was already there. But still, there's just certain points of time where it's like you just have this like emotional investment, and like you just watch everything, you read everything about it. So I don't know if that's like maybe some form of whatever we were talking about, because I can't think of the big word.
Past life regression.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think in my past life, I think I was a mime in France.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're fascinated with those?
Yeah. I love France. I love mimes. I don't know. It's just always been a thing. Like, I almost went to mime school, actually.
Stop it. There's a mime.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, where do you think they learn all their stuff? The box and everything? They gotta know how to do that.
YouTube? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You still walk out in the street and start doing that shit, Denise.
John Ward thinks that you were a deli worker and hit your.
So, what's your obsession with cold cuts?
John, I know it's pretty bad, isn't it?
Yeah, he does. John does.
John, jeez.
Heisenberg hates them. He won't eat them.
Because in the past life, this lady kept saying, slice it a quarter of an inch thinner. A quarter of an inch thinner.
Heisenberg's weird. Goose was a doll maker.
No, I was not.
No, the one that really fascinated me was the kid who solved the murder of his past life. Like he told his parents, like, this isn't my normal name or whatever, my normal body or whatever. And so they started questioning about it, and he told them his name, and it turns out that person was murdered. And then he said, it was my best friend who murdered me. And he actually led the police to the weapon.
Oh my God.
The murderer. Like, it was crazy. Like, that's not something that a kid could have like researched and had that, idea in his brain. That's why I believe the kids when they say stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember researching a case where somebody got like a heart transplant. Oh, I wish I could remember this. They got a heart transplant. They were murdered. And the person that got the heart had a dream that actually led them to catch the murderer.
Stop it.
Yeah, it's 100% legit. I feel like I heard it on Coast to Coast or something. I have it written down somewhere. So maybe if I find the information of it, you should be able to find it. But that's a thing.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, they say a lot of times that kids or babies will have scars from how they died in a past life.
That intrigues me. I'm going to have to start researching this a little bit more now too.
Oh yeah, jump down that rabbit hole. You'll be researching it for hours. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's fun. There's a guy on TikTok that's all he does is research kids who say they're reincarnated, and just shows like the videos. It's crazy.
Chris said there was recently a crazy story that came out regarding a child that was telling the story of his death in the World Trade Center. Wow, he remembered being an adult and where he was in the building. So crazy. I was just reading it last week. Huh.
I think I heard about that. I think it was maybe on Darkness Radio where they talked about that.
Okay.
I wish I could remember that. Yeah, that's so bizarre. But like also too, look at it this way. Kids have such insane imaginations, but it's so like mind-boggling when you can actually confirm the information.
Right. Yeah. And then it makes you wonder how much other crazy shit kids are saying that's actually true. And you're like, okay, bud.
That's what I listen to my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw an alien in the backyard. No, you didn't.
Right. On my roof.
Yeah, on the roof.
Yeah. I died on a pork farm as an orphan in my past life, and last year investigated said pork farm. Huh.
Interesting.
Oh, patient said his mom filmed him talking about it. It's just so mind-blowing to me. And when you have so many cases of it, like it's hard to argue that reincarnation is not real in some form, because there's so many cases of these kids knowing their entire lives and so many detailed things about previous lives. Like it's so hard to ignore it. You can't just be like, oh, it's just a coincidence that thousands of children, remember these things.
Yeah.
I remember my past life as a grizzly bear. That was fun.
Maybe I was a turkey in my past life, and that's why I hate deli so much.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You ever think about that, John?
Yeah. That's funny.
I know I joke all the time that I lived through the Great Depression, but I swear to God I did. It like physically hurts me to throw things away, like especially food. Like and I'll look at pictures and it just feels like normal to me.
Ooh.
Kid coming in with the science questions. Like it.
That's a really interesting thought. I wish I knew more about the heart and heart transplants. That's, I'm going to write that down because I want to research this now.
Right. And I love that we can research,
Right.
whatever. You just have this random ass thing that you want to learn about, and you have so much information at your fingertips. It's fantastic. I wish people would use the internet for that more often than, being mean to each other.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, going back in time would be amazing. I wish we had little time machines.
Right. Because I totally nerd out when I go to these old buildings, and just imagining like what life was like when that building was built and how many people have walked these same hallways, and especially with Madison, like now I'm part of the history of that building. And that is like, it makes my nerdy heart so happy. Like I love thinking about stuff like that. It would be so cool, even just for a minute. So when you go into a building, if you could just have a flash of what it looked like.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot more lately, like when I have downtime at work, I've been driving around like the towns that I'm in and just like seeing these beautiful houses and just like pulling over and just like randomly staring at them. People probably think I'm crazy, but
they probably think you're chasing out their neighborhood, dude.
Especially because you're in a van.
I'm in a work van, but I work for a major Ohio hospital, so like it's plastered on the side of the van. Yeah. Perfect cover. But I just like I was in Ravenna doing a delivery the other day.
Shit, Ravenna, they didn't suspect a thing.
Right. It was actually kind of driving around doing a little bit of like recognizance for my book, and I found the old administration building, which used to be a hospital, but then like across the street was this amazing old house. So like we're on a block, and I just sat there and I stared at people probably think I'm insane.
Yeah.
If they saw me, because I'm just staring at it like, man, that's amazing. Like,
although if they bought a house like that, if they bought a house like that, they obviously appreciate the architecture of it and whatever. So they probably get it. They probably still look at their own house that way.
We see, like, I wonder, like, I would like to build a house like that. Like, nobody ever talks about that. Build me what looks like the old, but make it modern. Stuff a little inside, like air conditioning and stuff. That'll be fine.
Like, could we please start building stuff like they used to?
But no, they just all do the square box, blah blah blah. Nobody does the Victorian.
Fancy plywood.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Nobody will ever write history books or do history tours about this time in our lives.
That's what we think until like the Kia becomes like the most wanted vehicle in the world.
There's not going to be car collectors collecting Kias someday.
Kia or Gia Metro.
Oh my gosh, I had a Geostorm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Collector card. Pontiac Fiero, all that. That one actually is one though, but
I had a Ford Escort station wagon.
I feel like there needs to be like a more strict like universal law where like historical buildings that are still in pretty good condition, maybe they need a little bit of repair. You can't tear them down. There just has to be. But imagine if like nothing ever got torn down. Like, just imagine that too. Either way.
Like, I feel like anything that was in sepia tone pictures should be automatically protected. You're not allowed to tear it down. You're not allowed to turn it into an apartment building.
So I could take a picture on my phone with the apartment building and put that tone on there, and it looks just like the old.
Okay, real sepia tone pictures.
Imagine all the old delicatessens that are no longer around.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, she's in on it.
Old
She's in on it now, man.
Yeah, Franklin Castle's freaking gorgeous.
Yes.
And like, it's so wild to me, like, that people just lived in these houses. Like, when the kids came home from school, that's where they went. Like, that was Christmas morning, was in that living room. You know what I mean? Like, it just blows my mind.
Yeah, I've always wanted to own like an old Victorian house.
Yeah,
it was haunted, just so I could set up my own experiments every day, and document things,
and not ever have to like put on real clothes and you know, you just
experiment around here.
Yeah,
I'm saying it'd be amazing, but you probably become the crazy lady on the block pretty quick.
Right?
She moved in there 10 years ago, and she hasn't come out since. We have no idea what's happening.
if I owned,
that's me now.
If I owned a house, I would definitely paint it insane. Like, it would be neon trim. Like, it would be the noticeable house, you know. But I'd love to live in the middle of the woods, and then no one would really see it. But
nope.
That's like ideal. Like what's that movie? The Others. How they have that big giant house, but there's like nothing around it. That's perfection for me.
Nope. There's nothing around that house.
No.
Oh, it's on an island in the woods, isn't it?
It's just
out in the woods.
Yeah, like the Jersey Islands or something like that.
Wow. See, it's like too far, man, because people couldn't tell if they were alive or dead or which side of the forest they were on.
Right.
Nobody knew what was going on in that movie, I'm sure.
Patience wants to know what's the one place you haven't investigated yet, but you want to.
Oh, there's so many. Well, House of Wheels is one. We already talked about that. I've never been to Waverly Hills, surprisingly.
Okay.
I would love to go to the catacombs in France.
Yeah.
That's on my list. Any haunted place in Japan.
Yeah.
Because I love the Japanese culture and their view of the afterlife. Where else? Oh gosh, I can't think of specific places. Those are my top though that come to mind.
Is Japan the one that has the suicide forest?
Yes.
Yeah. Could you go there?
Yeah. I would love to take like scientists to study like I don't know if they say it's on like a ley line or what, but there's definitely some kind of like geomagnetic factor that could be affecting people that spend time there. And that's what I'd love to study.
Yeah.
I'd like to stay away from that. But I'll watch your study.
Kalani, I was just talking about you.
What's this goose guy? I love it. I was messing with him on his post about being at Madison.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad he could take my sense of humor. It's because a lot of people think I'm an asshole when I do that kind of stuff. But my whole gimmick is to not be an asshole. Just have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, ley lines are interesting. Yeah, they're not like really proven, but a good example is if you look at Sedona, you know, where all the vortexes are, they say that's where the ley lines intersect. And you go to these places and you do feel like some type of feeling, you know, they say when you go to the vortexes that your psychic energy gets enhanced. I didn't really experience that. It was like a beautiful place, but I do think there's a lot of like environmental stuff where buildings are built and things like that can have an effect on what's happening there.
For sure. And especially when you look back on like different cultures, you know, if they're having, who was it? maybe it was Dustin Pari that we had on that was like talking about different Native American sightings and things. You know, if people are still having them in the exact same spots, maybe it's something in nature and not necessarily something paranormal.
Totally.
I mean, I guess it could be both, but
right.
Do you don't ever have any like weird psychic things that happen? I call them sorry, Becca, if you're still.
Me, not really. I do feel like this happens to me a lot where I'll think or put my focus on thinking about a person I haven't thought about in a while or like I haven't talked to in a while. And then either within like an hour or that same week, within a couple days, that person will randomly reach out to me or randomly call me. And it's just like that happens to me a lot. And I've been trying to like manifest things like that more.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Do you think you're manifesting it or you're seeing the future? Like you know that they're gonna call, so
there's just no way to know.
I know it's so. But I love when things happen like that, but it drives me crazy.
It's weird, yeah. But I mean, I think we can all develop these abilities somehow. Some people are able to tap into it, and some people aren't. But
well, I feel like you're a very like science-driven person, you know, and research-driven and whatever. And the reason I was asking is because like if I go into a place and I'm like either super focused on the architecture, which happens a lot, or you know, I'm at the seminary and I'm doing a tour, for example. That's a job for me. I have a thing that I need to do, and so I focus on that. And I tend to not have experiences when I'm doing a job or doing research or, you know, looking at the architecture. But it's just when I'm just sitting somewhere and not having a job that I'll have like certain feelings or thoughts or whatever. So I feel like sometimes the research part of it might get in the way of having like psychic things happen.
Could be. Maybe that happens with like it's just your mind focusing on, I don't know. It makes me think of the idea of like thought forms. Because, you know, there's been locations I've been to where, you know, there's really well-known stories about specific entities that haunt the place. Like, for instance, a hotel where a woman died in a fire and she is seen in her wedding dress. Then you go to do the historical research and there's no documentation of a fire. There's no documentation that this person even ever existed. And, you know, a lot of that can be covered up and not, you know, documented at the time. But there's some that have happened in like the 50s or 60s that should be documented.
Right.
And people go to these locations and they have the thought and the intensity that they're going to see. They build up the energy that they're going to see this specific woman in a wedding dress, that they're so focused on it, that I think they can kind of manifest that through like
I totally agree.
Yeah, that's happened a lot. That's such a cool theory too. And it's like if you could gather a bunch of people and concentrate enough and focus enough on something, you can make it happen. If it goes back to the Philip experiment from the 1970s that the Toronto Psychical Research Society did, where they got researchers together and they created an artificial person with a fictitious history, and they would meet certain times a week and focus on it. And then they changed nothing was happened. So they changed the environment, they dimmed the lights, and they created more of like a seance atmosphere. And then things started to happen. So I think that can happen a lot.
Yeah. We have Sarah's room at the seminary. There's no record of a Sarah. There's not really records of children, but the people who go in believing 100% that there is a little girl in that room will have different experiences than the people who don't believe it. I definitely don't think that there's a Sarah there, but I do know that people who think that there is, and they will literally walk into the room and they will go, "Sarah, honey, I'm here to play with you," you know, and that those people have a different type of experience than people who walk in going, "This is all bullshit."
Yeah. Or there's a different spirit there that's like, "Why are you calling me Sarah? I'm not a little girl." That's
So
why
that spirit's like, they don't know who I am. They think I'm
I keep
Sarah. I
wanting
can
to
do
say
whatever I
something
want.
to them, but they just haven't called my name yet.
That's why I think it's beneficial to study the mind and parapsychology when you're when you're doing this, because there's so many, I learned that from working with clients. There's so many things that are natural that people deem paranormal. Your mind is so powerful and crazy, and I feel like that you can manifest things to be paranormal when they're not.
People definitely underestimate the power of our brains.
Yeah, for sure.
Good or bad, when it comes to manifesting and things like that.
Right. Well, we've had such interesting conversation. I love it.
I know. I'm not used to
this
that.
Is why,
it's like,
this is why I was so excited to have Heather.
Yeah. Like almost a full 2 hours of actually talking about paranormal. That's
weird.
Amazing.
We're talking about quantum physics now. Okay.
Yeah, my brain is fried on that one.
All right, dude. You girl, yes.
I wish I knew more about physics, but I don't know much about quantum physics.
Yeah.
I can barely read the word.
We're all like, what?
Yeah, like,
is that like Ant-Man or something?
For Ray's sake, kid, why don't you explain what you're talking about?
Yeah, for Ray's sake.
I really enjoy your questions, Kit. I like the way you're thinking.
Yeah.
But a tulpa is kind of like that's just kind of the same thing as like an egregore or a thought form in a way.
Yeah.
We need more people like this investigating paranormal.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it just sparks so many thought-provoking questions. I love it.
Yeah. And then plus I think like if we're going to call it a science, then we should probably do some sort of science with it, instead of just, whatever. I have fun investigating, just doing a regular investigation. But if we're going to call it a science, it'd be cool if we got more science involved into it.
Psychokinesis. Can we talk about the cool magazine cover that Paranormal? Oh yeah, that turned out really neat. Yeah, there's this cool magazine called Paranormality, and I know the artist that does all the covers. He's an amazing artist. His name's Mr. Sam Sharon, and he did a cover interview of me. I haven't actually seen the actual physical magazine yet, but the cover it turned out really well, and people were digging the article that was in it.
Cool.
Nice.
I'll have to find that one.
I'm finding it right now.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Google.
Paranormality.magazine.com, I think.
I just gotta add it. Hang on.
Oh, thanks for getting one, Patience. That's awesome. I'm like, I just ordered a bunch. I'm gonna sell at my events, so I'll finally able to see it.
Just kidding. I don't know how to find things on my computer.
I have no idea what's going on.
It's fine.
It's about that time where my brain's like, "What's going on, man? You have anything to plug?"
Oh yeah, we do need to know that.
What did you say?
We need to know.
Do you have anything that you'd like to plug?
I would talk about Travel of the Dead, because we have more new episodes we're working on getting out there. And if anyone hasn't seen our first two, they're in little segments on Katrina Weidman's YouTube channel. And the first one is at White Hill Mansion. The second one's at Penhurst. They're pretty fun. I would plug that. And then I have a good amount of events booked this year. My closest one that I'm doing at the end of February is in Savannah, which I have never been to Savannah.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
I'm super excited. It's like a first event they're doing there. I think it's called Horror Fest or something, but it's the information and the link to it's on my website under my event page. But I'm doing that. I'm doing Hillview. What else? Whitehall Mansion, Ohio State Reformatory, the Parapsychon event. I'm doing like a charity event in Strasburg, Virginia, at a historical building that they're trying to save.
Nice.
There's a couple more that haven't been announced yet, but all those are on my website. But other than that, I have, what is it? The Mysteries Decoded episodes coming out, but I have no idea when they're coming out. So follow me on Instagram or Twitter because there
it is. Nice.
Isn't that cool? And that is
really cool.
That's actually like it's not AI.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's really cool. I was like, really whoa. Cool. That's my like Kentucky Fried Chicken shirt.
Colonel Heather.
Yeah. Colonel Taddy.
It's funny.
It's fun.
Yeah, we should try to go out to Hillview too.
Yeah, you guys have to go. It's so fun. Oh, there's Sue. Sue is one of the amazing people that work there. I love her so much. She transformed me into an old woman when I did their Scare Manor like promotional video.
Nice.
Nice.
Pain, and I pretended I was like the spirit of Mary that haunts the place, and they used this in the promotional video. It's so funny.
That's awesome. Oh.
Yeah, I'm doing like a Women of the Paranormal event with a New Jersey housewife psychic. Her name's April. I'm doing an event with her, and then HillCon is the next day. That's August 11th and 12th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
going to be busy. Yeah, I'm excited for all of the cons this year because we decided as a group that we're gonna #do more. That's our logo for 2023.
They're so fun. You meet so many interesting people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially after being locked down for 2 years with COVID and all that. We're ready. Yeah.
I can't believe we went through that. It's so strange.
So weird. That'll be in the history book someday too.
Yeah.
Our kids will be learning about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we were homeschooled for a whole year.
It'll be the new, like, I walked uphill both ways in the snow.
I think it's really sad that I feel like a lot of kids, they don't have snow days anymore.
No.
I don't.
Because they have to do virtual learning when they're home. Yeah.
Well, my kids had a snow day yesterday, so
they have to do virtual when they're home?
No, not during a snow day.
Oh, my kids.
They still have, they obviously still have to finish their homework, but no.
I guess it depends on the school district, but I feel like I've been hearing a lot of schools now, there's no snow days. They're these computers are just doing their work. Like, I always loved snow days because I would always go sledding.
And now I look outside my window and I'm like, oh, great, it's snowing. It looks really bad up there. I don't have to go anywhere anyways, but
when you work from home, it's different. Yeah.
And like my computer's still here set up in the office. So it's like, I guess I'll go to the office. No more just not doing anything on a school day.
Yeah.
Actually drove by your house while I was working today. Driving in the snow.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be an asset to any team, I think.
Totally.
I guess other people probably don't think that's fun. I'm like, oh yeah, let's study mold and
I'm into it.
Yeah.
Kit, where do you live?
Yeah. I think it's cool though. I think we need more people doing research, that type of research. And I've been saying it for years. I think there's going to be these kids are going to be up and coming. They understand technology way better than we do. And these kids are going to invent some crazy technology that's never been seen before.
And also, too, when you think about it, like, how do we even know we're using the right technology? We don't. First of all, because we don't know what we're dealing with. But I feel like a lot of people put a lot of focus into equipment where sometimes I think you're your best tool. Your tuition and things. So
and the equipment, I feel like, is just different takes on the same type of equipment. That's why, I mean, like, some kid's going to come in and be like, why are you doing that? Why don't you do this? And it's going to be like something that we never thought of because we're so focused on like redoing old equipment, you know, or doing it slightly better or slightly different. And I feel like these kids are going to come in with their technology. Like, look at 5-year-olds can handle like a cell phone or a tablet like way better than most adults, you know.
My kid's 3.5 and he knows what to do with it.
Yeah, they just understand it so much better, and I just feel like
maybe
some
you need to
kid's gonna
teach
come
you.
in and they're just
he teaches me. Now he goes, move daddy's apps around. I'm like, no, don't move them around, man. Oh, hey, dirt.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't. I mean, I obviously grew up with technology. I was born in 1985, but like, I'm glad I didn't have the cell phones when I was even in high school. Like, I didn't even have a cell phone until halfway through college.
Yeah.
But like, I just couldn't imagine like growing up how different. Like I feel like today you don't see kids playing outside.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like it's so weird.
Yeah.
Everybody's like so obsessed with looking at their screens.
Yeah. We're at a good, like, I was born in 1983 and it's the same, you know, same childhood, but we're at that magical time where we had the no technology childhood, but we also were around for the beginning of technology and we were young enough to like pick it up easy.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're the best of both worlds. Sorry,
we are. I love it.
But yeah, this was awesome. I'm so glad that you came on, especially on my birthday. That was
happy birthday.
Thanks.
And we even we did the whole 2 hours, and we originally only spoke about doing the first hour. I think it's
sorry, Heather.
So quick.
That's Thanks for having me on. I feel like we had some pretty interesting conversations. I love it.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely be seeing
talk
you
about the
around
paranormal tonight, guys. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for
we get derailed and talk about food like halfway through.
Yeah. Oh, there's another question.
Uh-oh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We do only see a narrow part of the electromagnetic spectrum. And you know, there's a huge theory of ghosts and EMF, and that's not like really even proven. It's just something we've just kind of thought about. But no, that's totally true. I mean, when you think about like even apparitions, maybe it's not an optical thing, like an optical lens can't catch it. Maybe it's like a light thing. Like there's just, you could go on and on and on about this. There's just so much we still don't know,
and it could all be right or it could all be wrong. We have no idea.
Right. Doing
usually the way it goes.
Yeah. But yeah,
just enjoy the ride for right now.
Someday we'll have the answers, maybe.
Right. Hopefully it's in our lifetimes.
Right.
I'd like to be around to see when we finally figure it out.
Yeah, imagine all the people that, you know, were part of the whole Roswell crash that kept their story hidden for so long. Like, imagine if they saw today that UFOs were so prominent in the news. And
and people just talk about it.
I'd be like,
it would blow their mind.
Yeah.
It's declassified. What?
It is declassified, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not getting shot if you talk about it? That's amazing.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Heather.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me on. This was fun.
Yeah, this was fun.
Good.
And we'll be seeing you
around.
All right,
Crypto.
Yeah, I'll see you guys soon.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure we're going to get away from our table. Come see you.
Yeah, come hang out. Yeah.
Cool. All right, crypto heads. That was another episode of the Cryptic Paranormal Show. Again, thank you, Heather, so much for coming on. It's been the first time in a while we've actually talked a whole 2 hours about pretty deep rabbit hole paranormal stuff, but I love it. I loved every minute of it. So thank you so much. Everybody in the chat rooms, thank you so much. You guys had some great questions. Kit just gave his email out. If anybody would like to reach out to him and get into further discussions. Our next event coming up is March 4th, right around the corner at the Potographs Pear Fest out in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And we're going to be continuing interviewing some people that are part of that. So that's going to be awesome in the next few weeks. And it's a great fundraiser for saving the puppies. Can't go wrong with that. So we love you guys. Hashtag do more.
And as
what
always,
do you want to say?
Don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole.
We love you guys. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.